Welcome to Sundays with Sujita. Thank you all for being so supportive and always joining along. Please go ahead and drop in your locations in the comments, and we would love to see where everyone is tuning in from. And also throughout the session, please do participate, provide us with your questions, feedback, and just comments. And we would love to see how you all are enjoying the topic of the day, and also any suggestions for future topics can be dropped into the comment section. I see someone from Dubai, Anita Rajbanshi. Hello from Dubai. All right, so welcome to Sundays with Sujita. Again, this is my third episode in this series, and the purpose of this series is, to connect with the youth around the world. As an individual who is a millennial living in COVID times, it's very hard for us to connect in person and have discussions about different topics that are happening around the world. And so Sundays with Sujita is my way of connecting with youth around the world and seeing what's on their mind. It can be anything from career-wise to personal to mental health to anything. And so I'm allowing my followers to send me topics that they want to talk about, encouraging them to use this platform to speak up about something that they're passionate about, something that they care about, and something that they want to share their opinion on. And so that is how Sundays with Sujita started. So anyways, if you all have seen my past couple of episodes, you know that I usually have a guest on the show, and in the beginning, we will ask our guests to do an introduction and a rapid fire round with questions just to get us warmed up. And then we will start with the topic of the day. So today, I am very excited to have my guest. She is a woman in technology. I'll let her introduce herself in a bit, but she's also the founder and co-advisor of Nepali Women in Computing. And I am super excited to have her in, so let me quickly pull her into the chat and we will be talking to her. Sorry guys, I have a little cold, so don't mind me. Hello!
Hi. How are
Hi,
you?
Shreeya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us, like Nepali Women in Computing and me.
Of course, how could I pass up on this offer as a woman in technology myself? I'm so very excited. So, first of all, let's give your introduction. So, I know you and I have been chatting for a couple of weeks, but let's introduce you to the rest of the world, and also tell us a little bit about Nepali Women in Computing and how this came about.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. First off, thank you for inviting us. Namaste, everybody. I'm Shreeya Dhakal. I am a third-year PhD student in computer science at North Carolina State University. So I am in the US right now, based in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I work in natural language processing and argumentation mining research. That is a field that I'm really passionate about. And apart from being a PhD student, I'm also the founder and a co-advisor for Nepali Women in Computing. And talking about Nepali Women in Computing, it is one of Anita Biorg's sisters communities and a leaning circle of Nepali women technologists around the globe. So we are a global network of Nepali women, and we support Nepali women in computing in their journey in tech, be it by providing mentorship or different opportunities to just network within the community and beyond. We also work together with other sisters communities like Indian women in computing, Pakistani women in computing. And apart from just like being a networking platform, we also provide services like resume reviews, grad school and college application reviews. We also have something called NWIC Celebrate, which is a story series through which we share and celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of Nepali women technologists around the globe. And actually, that's how I found you.
Ah.
and other than that, we have something called Nepali Women in Computing Educate, which is a monthly speaker series where we invite speakers and experts in different fields, like different fields concerning issues, social issues in Nepal. So we are not just like limiting ourselves to the discussions related to tech and computing. We're also like giving people a platform to talk about issues that exist in our society, be it in terms of diversity and inclusion, like women, be it caste issues and stuff like that. So there are a couple of other things that we do. And we also like being a community of Nepali women technologists, we also provide, opportunities to like attend sessions on technical sessions. Like last month, we had one whole month of open source contribution series where like we had speakers coming in talking about open source, how to get started in open source, and their experiences as open source contributors.
Wow, that is incredible. That's a lot going on. And you know what? Like, I actually had no idea there was a community of Nepali women in computing or Nepali women in technology. So I think, this is incredible that you guys are doing that. And so you said this is a sister organization to a larger, broader community. So what is the name of the broader community? And was that founded in Nepal?
No, it's not founded in Nepal. I think it's founded in the US itself. It's called anitav.org. It's named after like Admiral, like it's named after Anita Borg. So they have this yearly celebration. I think you might have heard of it. It's called Grace Hopper Celebration. It's one of the biggest. They do things other than like Grace Hopper Celebration, but usually people know them by by Grace Hopper. And Grace Hopper Celebration is the biggest yearly conference or celebration of women technologists. They invite women technologists from around the globe. It is usually hosted in the US. And Last year it was online because of COVID, but before that I attended GSC, and it happened in Orlando, Florida in 2019. So yeah, that's how it all got started. I was in Grace Hopper in 2019, and I realized like, I met a few people from Nepal, a few girls from Nepal, and I've just been in the US for like 2.5 years now. And the first year was absolute nightmare with no one from Nepal, like no one who looked like me or talked
Yeah.
like me. And it was very difficult, like not just in terms of a cultural shock, but I was just isolated in that sense. And when Grace Hopper happened, I met a few other girls, and I realized it's a shared story. So it is not just my story, but it's a story of every other Nepali women technologist in the US. And that's how Nepali Women in Computing like came into existence. Like I also met other sister leaders from other sisters communities like Pakistani Women in Computing, who really helped us get started with Nepali Women in Computing. So it's a very supportive network out there. And that's how we got started. Yeah.
That's amazing. I have so many questions about Nepali women in computing. So one last question. So as I guess as a young girl who is pursuing a career in the US or it be wherever in the world, right? How can she get in contact with you all, and what resources do you all have that can help her to figure out, what if she wants to go into the tech field मा गयो भने कस्तो खालको career optionsहरु छ, degree options are there? Do you guys support with all of that? Because I know you mentioned resume building is something that you all do, but
Yeah.
what about someone who's looking to pursue a degree in computing or in the technology field? Do you all support with that?
Yeah, so the thing is, we have had a couple of internal sessions in terms of like grad school and college applications. We also like answer questions regarding like, just college applications in general and different fields within computer science that people can pursue. It is not just like pure software engineering. There is research, and then there is like, even in research there are so many areas that you can work on: human computer interface, natural language processing, educational data mining. Like it's a whole new world out there when you talk about computer science or tech in general. It is not just software engineering. That is like how we see it in Nepal. Like when I was in Nepal, I thought tech was just about software engineering until I was in until towards the end of my second year. I just thought it was software engineering, but it's much more than that. And not just that, like people who have like who have an experience in business, they also have a place in tech. Tech is like interdisciplinary. It is not just like people who do computer science are in tech. It's like it's a whole new world, and
Yeah.
we try to show that to people through all of our like talk and speaker sessions. We also have like members who switched careers. So one of our co-advisors, Nihit, she did a PhD in chemistry, computational chemistry, but she is now a solutions architect in Amazon Web Services. So like we try to like through these experiences we try to show that like one tech is beyond like just software engineering, and second, like you can be studying something else, but like if you want to like have that career transitions, we have people with those experiences, and they can like you can reach out to them. Like before Nepali Women in Computing, I would not have a chance to talk to someone at Amazon or like someone at Apple, but because of Nepali Women in Computing, it is possible. And not just that, when I came to the US, I did not know like Apple was possibility, or like Amazon, Facebook, all these FANG companies, or even Fortune 500 companies was a possibility for people from Nepal, because I never saw anyone in this like big shot companies, and it was not even a dream. So when Nepali Women like when Grace Hopper happened, I got an internship with Apple, and not just Apple but 5 other big companies. And like when that happened, I realized, okay, if we have enough like networking opportunities, and enough like just support from community as such, we can really like achieve. And Nepali people, like not just Nepali women, but even Nepali men have been in all these big positions, and we don't really see, because we don't have a community as such that really promotes the stories of all these people. And that's how initially we were just a story series, and then more people joined in, and we became this huge community. Like we are still growing, we are still like trying to figure out what more we want to do with this community, because now we have a platform. Now what more can we do to like really support our community, and increase that Nepali representation in tech, so that like other younger generations won't have to say Nepalese cannot do tech, because I grew up believing that Nepali people, like I never even dreamed of being in one of those companies.
Yeah.
So when that happened, it really changed a lot in the way I thought of things, in the way I thought of opportunities. You just need to see, and to see that, you like really need to have that role models. And
Yeah.
that is one thing we're really trying to create at Nepali Women in Computing. Just bring in
Amazing.
stories and you share them.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah.
that's incredible. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, sometimes a lot of young girls and a lot of young men, anyone, right, who's coming from abroad, especially to America or somewhere that's more developed, you almost in a way tend to get intimidated by a certain industry. And if you don't, especially if you don't have people that look like you, or you have a network of connection, or you have a mentor, you've become even more intimidated to enter an industry. And sometimes you kind of just like say, okay, well, I'll just pass up on that and do something else. So I think this is incredible that you guys are doing that, because there are a lot of Nepali people here in the US that I know of that are in the tech industry that are just not, they're kind of in their own bubbles. They so I think it's so important to bring visibility to their stories, how they got to their level of success, and the companies and the types of jobs that they're doing, because that inspires a lot of the youth that are also aspiring to get into those fields. So you're absolutely right, and I love the idea behind this. I think this is incredible. So one more question for you, I guess. I keep asking you questions about this. So you said you came a couple of years ago from Nepal to the US to do your PhD, right? So how, in terms of the technology space, how is it, Nepal, now you said that you didn't really know anything outside of software engineering. You didn't know the possibilities of the technology field. So when you were growing up, how did you develop this passion for pursuing a degree in technology, and what was the limitations that you kind of saw in Nepal versus like what you're seeing, the opportunities you're seeing here, and how do you think that could be improved on in Nepal?
So like in Nepal, to be very honest, there are like 2 fields you're expected to go: engineering or medicine,
Yeah.
right? That is like very common. And if you're like really good at it, studies, if you get distinction in your SLC or 10th grade, you're expected to pursue +2 science in your high school. So, it's like a pattern. So if you don't get distinction, or if you get very low, like second division or like something, you are expected you're not really expected to pursue like do much with your life, which is very wrong. Of course, very wrong. But I got a distinction when I like in my SLC exam, and then I was expected to pursue high school like science. So I took science courses in high school, and after that I got distinction there as well. So I got good grades there as well. So I was expected to either pursue medicine or engineering. And I had not explored a lot of different opportunities at that time, so I did not really know what I wanted to do, either medicine or engineering. And for me, it was an easier choice because I'm scared of blood.
Mm.
So I'm really scared of blood. So that's why I chose engineering. And and then there are so many different fields of engineering. So what to do? And I had done like some coding back in like 10th grade. So I thought like computer engineering it is. And then I just joined. And my fiance was then my boyfriend, who was also joining computer engineering. So it was like, I'm going to do computer engineering. So I did not really know what I was going to do, but I just joined computer engineering. And after that, like the first 2 years in college, I was just like getting good grades and doing bare minimum to, be that good student, be that good child who gets good grades. So, I was just doing that for the first 2 years. And towards the end of second year was is what I believe like is the point that my life changed, and I became really passionate about what I wanted to do in life. So software engineer, like I said, tech, like computer science, computer engineering, it's just software engineering. Like what just software engineering, even for me. And towards the end of second year, what happened was I was like, I don't want to do management systems. I want to do something more exciting, something more innovative. And like we have to do something called minor and major projects in third year and fourth year of our college. So towards the end of second year, I was deciding, like I was working to decide on what to do for like minor project for third year and major project for final year. And that's when I started looking up things. And one of a very close relative told us to work on machine learning or like sentiment analysis and all of that. And I did not know what sentiment analysis or machine learning was, because I just thought computers engineering is software engineering, IT engineering is software engineering, nothing beyond that. And I started looking it up, and we decided to do something called sentiment analysis of Nepali text. So that's how my journey began. And when I was working on sentiment analysis of Nepali text, we realized there is not a single resource for Nepali available, and research in terms of like language processing for Nepali is like very new. It was just like less than 10 years old when we started. Like it was less than 10 years old, but in terms of English it was like more than, I don't know, 50, 60, I don't remember the exact number, but it was very old. Like they had a huge body of research that was being done in English and in other languages, like even Hindi, Spanish, Korean, and all of that. And there was nothing for Nepali. And that really shook me to the core, because I'm very close to my culture, my language. I grew up in Nepal, so it's like natural that I really, really grew up looking at all of this, talking in my Nepali bhasa. So it was very important to me. And when I saw there was nothing, I really wanted to like pursue my like further education in NLP research, develop linguistic tools for Nepali. And I'm really really happy and proud when I say this. Our college project, a small unit of our college project, went on to become one of the first open source contributions for Nepali language. So there would be people doing research in Nepali language here and there, like very few people, but there were people who were doing it. But nothing was open source as such at that time. And we did one of the open source contributions. And I have like up until now, I have 2 open source contributions for Nepali, which I'm really, really proud of. I really care about that. Like for me, it is very important because I use all these technologies. I'm a woman in tech, and I know that technology around the world can transform lives. Like it has been transforming lives. And my mother, as someone who can only speak and like communicate in Nepali, she cannot use half of these technologies like efficiently. And for me, it really pains my heart. Like, I'm a woman in tech, and my mother at home, she cannot use these technologies that I'm super proud of, and like I'm working to build, which is why I chose to pursue a PhD in natural language processing. And back in summer 2020, I worked with Apple in City International. So that was a really cool experience where I got to see a glimpse of core language technologies and what is happening in the industry, like how they are tackling all these internationalization issues. So it was really fun, and that is how everything changed for me. That is how I saw tech as a broader field, not just software engineering. So yeah, that is how it changed, and that
Oh.
is how, yeah, my life changed basically.
Incredible. That is such an incredible journey. And I think this is such a important journey to outline, because I feel like a lot of young people who grow up in Nepal can kind of relate to you in the sense that, you start off, you go to college and you have medicine or engineering, and the engineering choose gare bhane, you only feel like you're defined into this hole for software engineering. But there's a world out there in technology, you know? And technology is actually like having technical skills, you being able to understand, read and write in different codes and languages is actually a bare minimum in these days, I feel like, to go into the working industry. Because any career field that you choose, you have to have some sort of understanding of like technology to be able to succeed, because people are looking to drive innovation, and the innovation that drive gonna, you need to have the understanding of technology. And I think it's so important to, in the context, and I'm still not sure what it is like in Nepal. I've never been to school there, but in the context of like the engineering field, I feel like so much more can be done. Because if society is saying that kids need to get a medicine or engineering degree, then there's so many potentials in the engineering degree industry. So I think that's, I really admire the fact that you shared this story, because that moment where you realize like, wow, there's I can actually make changes for our country, for our language, for people to understand outside of Nepal, for people to understand what's happening in Nepal. One of the things that I recently ran into was, I can read Nepali a little bit, but I struggle with it, right? And most of the news sources are all in Nepali. And so I go online and I'm trying to understand what is happening in Nepal, and everything is in Nepali. And it's really difficult to understand what is happening when you're reading something, that you understand the words, but you can't piece it all together. And that's for me, for someone who can barely read Nepali, but imagine someone who's non-Nepali who wants to learn about Nepal. There's such limited information out there that's in English or that's been transcribed over to English. And so I think whatever you talked about is just amazing. And I think there's just like that, there's so many other potential for new technology and new tools and new development to happen in that space in Nepal. And so I appreciate that, everything that you all are doing. I think this is just incredible. All right, well, I know, so half of our conversation was supposed to be about women in technology. Is there anything last that you want to say about just being a woman in technology, being from Nepal, having migrated here to the US? Like, is there any other last message that you want to give to young girls that are trying to pursue a career in technology back in Nepal or anywhere in the world? Do you want to give them one last message before we shift to our other topic?
Yeah, I would just say don't be scared to ask help. I'm like in a weird position when I say this. Like, I'm an introvert, but at the same time I'm an extrovert. So like, there is a part of me I share with the world, and then there is a part of me that I don't share with absolute like nobody but me. And sharing that I am weak and I'm vulnerable, I am scared, is something that I never do. And um, and and I really suffered because of that, especially in the first year at grad school. So don't be scared to show that you're scared. Don't be scared to show that you don't know. Uh, just ask a lot of questions. Ask for help. Out of like 100 people you ask, at least one might answer your question, and then that's it. Like, just uh, don't take no for an answer. Like, just, yeah, keep on finding those people who will actually, like, come out and help you. And there are a tons of people who do that.
Yeah. And you never know. Other people might have the same question in their head. They just didn't speak up either. So
Yeah,
there's no such thing as a dumb question, is what my teacher would always say. Ask. I love
yeah.
that. And I think this is a great segue into our second part of the topic today is you wanted to talk about, so this is something that you messaged me about, imposter syndrome. So I'll let you start off. So why did you choose the topic imposter syndrome for today's conversation, and how does that relate to, for you being a woman in technology? Why did you feel that was something that came about?
Yeah. Starting off, I'd just say like being a woman in tech is lonely. Like it is lonely, like not just in terms of numbers, like how little you are in this field, but also in terms of like how you feel in general. So the thing is, this topic is very close to my heart. Like I said, I came to the US, like I was living away from my family for the very first time in like 22 or 23 years of my life. And, I had just completed my undergrads and I knew what I wanted to do in life in terms of natural language processing and all of that. But back at home, I was also like one of those students who always got 4.0. So, I was always the topper. But when I came to the US, like there was a sudden shift in the culture, sudden shift in the way, like, the classes are conducted, you are graded and all of that. And it took a lot of time for me to really understand that. And I really felt dumb, like for like 1.5 year, the entire 1.5 year of my grad school, the first 1.5 year, I felt absolutely dumb. Even though I used to be a 4.0 student, even though like, my grades were not very bad, I was getting around like by the end of first year, I had around 3.7 in average, even at grad school. But I felt dumb, like I just felt dumb, and I would not be able to ask questions, share, and also like partly because nobody spoke my language, nobody really like talked like me. They did not look like me. Half of my grad school like classes courses were like even though there were a lot of Asians, most of them were like either from India or China, and I was the only one from Nepal, and it just was starting to feel like tech is just for like even if it is for Asians, it is just for like our neighbors like Indians and Chinese, and not for Nepalese. And I never had to really become a minority back at home. So when I was in Nepal, I'm a granddaughter of a Baun. So I like caste wise I was a majority, and I was never like my family was never financially unstable. We were always financially stable, so we did not really have to struggle on that end either. And because my father worked in INGOs, he really respected he really believed in empowering women. So I was never treated any less of a person. Like I was treated as equally as my brother. So I never saw that except for a few times in college when your class size is of 60, but you are only one of the six girls. Like except for those moments and like times when teachers would not like would believe the guy students more than you. I'd never really faced that, never really had to fight the feeling of being a minority or like something like that. And when I came to the US, I was a minority all of a sudden, and living in that majority like all my life, and then coming to be a minority here was a shock. It was a shock, and I could not really process that, and I could not even really share that. Like I said, I am an introvert in so many ways because I don't really share what I really feel. I don't really like to be vulnerable in front of people, like which has obviously changed now that I've started sharing more openly, started being with Nepali women in computing. But yeah, I felt stupid, I felt like a fraud, and I felt like my grad school acceptance was just a matter of chance, and I just happened to be here, but I don't deserve it, and I don't deserve any of this. And it was really difficult to process because I have never felt this way before, like ever. Imagine in first 23 or 22 years of your life, you don't really like you've never felt anything like this before, and then all of a sudden you feel you have that like mid 20 crisis or whatever you'd like to call it. But it was very difficult, and that's why imposter syndrome, this topic, is very close to me. And after first year, I joined Women in Computer Science at NC State, and that community really helped me build myself up Like I was really going down that rabbit hole, like, where I was like not sharing enough. And talking to these girls at Women in Computer Science at NC State, I realized like most of us are like, down that path. We try to share, we stop. We try to share, we stop. But slowly, like when you see people who feel like you, who are talking like you eventually become more and more comfortable to share, right? And that's how it happened with Women in Computer Science at NC State. And then slowly, like I started like being more in, like, then Nepali Women in Computing started. And then here I was a Didi. I was a Didi to so many young girls. And, I could not be in that rabbit hole anymore. I had to really uh, go and find my way out of being like feeling like an imposter. And that's when I started, like, talking to people. A lot of people actually helped me in this journey. I cannot go without mentioning, like, Huma. Huma is the founder of Pakistani Women in Computing. She really helped me. Like, she told me, like, when I started this, I was alone, but you don't have to be. And when she said that, like, even though she was not from my country, from my culture, I knew she was someone I could depend on. And I started, like, being more vulnerable. I started talking about my feelings more, because I knew for a fact that, all these girls who call me Didi, who really look up to me, like think of me as some big shot PhD student pursuing her like grad school in the US, who's done an internship with Apple. Like, they need to know that even I feel that way, because when they see that I feel that way, they'll start realizing that, they're just feeling like an imposter. They are not an imposter. They're not fraud. It's just a feeling. And like when I show them that even I am battling through it every day, uh, I hope it helps. It helps them, and I really believe that it will help them, because it helped me. Like when I saw Puma Sundas, who is an analytical lead at Google, like, talking about imposter syndrome and how they really felt as the only woman from Pakistan in their respective companies. Um, I saw myself there in so many ways, and I saw myself like at the position where all these women I really like admire, have been. And I really like worked really hard to not feel like an imposter, show that I'm vulnerable as well. And it has really helped me in healing. Like this entire process, entire journey has really helped me in healing. And I really believe that, like, me coming out really vulnerable, like, yeah, be it in this live or like just in my meetings in Nepali Women in Computing, I'm really like positive that it will help all these little girls who call me Didi and who really look up to me. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Again, I feel like everything that you've shared today has just been so genuine, and I think it comes from within. And this is something that will really help a lot of the young girls that I hope are watching and will take this message and kind of use that for their own, to pave their own path for their journey. Because we always look up to, like you said, when we look up to people that are at a certain level, whether it's degree wise or certain age, you almost feel like, oh wow, like they've done so much, they're this great person that knows everything, and like you become intimidated and you feel like I can never be like that, because you start self-doubting yourself, right? But that's not the way it is, because constantly everyone is self-doubting themselves. Everyone is, like you mentioned. So just to kind of talk about imposter syndrome a little bit. So the definition for those of you that are tuning in today, imposter syndrome is when you feel like you've only succeeded because of your luck. You feel inadequate despite of your success, and it's a chronic self-doubt and this feeling of like intellectual fraudulent. You feel like, I've only gotten to this level because X, Y, and Z happened. Or you, instead of giving yourself credit for your talent and your hard work and your time, you start blaming everything else and saying like, oh, the only reason I got here was because of X, Y, and Z. And I feel like in the tech field, one thing that you pointed out, Shreeya, was there aren't a lot of women representation. And so when a woman becomes successful in the technology field, or continues to climb that ladder of success, she almost sometimes starts to self-doubt her abilities and thinks that, oh, I only got here because they want more representation, or they want more inclusivity, they want more diversity, whatever it is. And so the woman or whoever starts doubting her own talent and her own knowledge, and starts blaming it on so many different things out there that is not true. So I think imposter syndrome is definitely something that is very, very big, especially for people in our generation, I feel like, because, you know, our generation, we're shifting the rhetoric, right? Like, we're shifting
Mhm.
a lot of things in the culture, and women are starting to take up roles and take up positions that weren't usually taken up before. And I think, you know, with that shift comes a lot of like self-doubt. And so that is the quick rundown on imposter syndrome. And there are different types of imposter syndromes. So just to list out a few, there are people that are perfectionists. So, you know, these are the type of people that say it must always, they must always, everything must be perfect. Everything has to be, you know, to the dot, perfect, clean, all of that. And then there are experts who think that if I was smart, I would have already knew this. So, you know, that's something that people say all the time in their head. It's like, wow, I can't do this, but if I was really smart, I should know how to do this. Why am I not doing it? So that's another type of imposter syndrome. Another is the soloist who thinks that they need to do everything on their own. So, you know, the soloist won't ask for help. They'll kind of think that, like, if I'm smart enough, if I'm capable enough, I should be able to do everything on my own. And then there are the great minds who think, you know, if this was actually easy, it would come to me quickly. So that means I must not be smart enough to do this.
Mhm.
So those are different types of ways that, you know, types of imposter syndrome that I can definitely say that I have also felt throughout my career as well. And Shreya, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with that. And I think, you know, the more we talk about this, the more we're opening up opportunities for young girls and just empowering the youth, whether it's young girls or young boys, to, you know, just go for their dreams. Because a lot of times, the reason why we don't go for our dreams is because we think we're not going to be able to meet our goals, or we're not going to be able to get to that dream. But if we just
Yeah.
take the chance and just do it, you grow within the process. The entire process is learning. You don't just wake up and know it all, you know? And so I think this is such an important topic, and I really appreciate you for bringing this on. But another question that I wanted to ask you is, so how do you practice? Do you still feel like you sometimes feel like you self-doubt yourself? And also, what practices do you use to, you know, overcome that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the thing is, I definitely feel like an imposter time and again. There are like episodes of it, like especially when you're working on a research in PhD, a lot of times, like it's your own journey. There's nobody else to help you, right? And even when I need help, I can't really go out and help. That is something I still feel over and over again. Uh, and at that time, I just remember like from like I have a notebook where I have written things that people have told me, like constructive feedbacks or like just constructive feedbacks and praises, like when someone has praised me, what they have said, I've written it down, like really written it down. And so when I feel like I have to do everything by myself, I remember one of the things that my mentor at Apple said. So there was this one time I was trying to fix a problem in the program I was working on. And then like I tried like for a couple of days, like 2 days or 3 days, like I was just working really hard and I was not able to solve it. And I should have like on the first day when I found that, I should have actually asked a very simple question to one of the developers there, which I did not. So like I always remember what he said from that like when we were talking about this, is like, Shreya, you're very smart, but sometimes you have to like, make space for others to help you. And I have written it down. I really written it down. And other than that, like a lot of times I do feel like a diversity hire at graduate school, diversity hire at Apple, especially because like, even though I interviewed my way, like I cracked my way through the interviews to get the internship at Apple. Like I really felt like an imposter. I felt like a diversity hire, and I remember like one of a very senior scientists there telling me like, Shreya, you're not a diversity hire. You were hired because of your knowledge, your like understanding of how language, like how words formation and how language functions in general. And there were thousands of other girls at Grace Hopper, and a lot of them interviewed with our team. We hired you because you deserved it. And I have that written down on my like notebook. And on the last day of my internship, I told my manager, "Thank you for choosing me." And she said, "No, like you proved me right. Like there were a lot of people who interviewed. I chose you, and I was 100% sure about you. And you know what? You proved me right." And I have that down on my notebook. And then like I remember like from Sundar's experience, I've also written this down. She's again, like I think I've already mentioned her. She's an analytical lead at Google. She worked at Amazon for a very long time as well. And when she was in her first job, she was the only Pakistani woman in the building. So I've written that down as well. Like, this woman, I really admire her. I really admire her journey, and I really like look up to her in terms of where she is today. And she goes through it, and like I just constantly remind myself of these people and their words. And I also make a list of things I've done. For example, like I'm really proud of the open source contributions that I've done for Nepali. I'm really proud of the fact that I started Nepali Women in Computing when I saw that girls from my community needed that representation. And I'm really proud of all the stories that I've covered for Nepali Women in Computing, because I'm bringing out the stories of our women to the world. And I have written this down. I have written down how many stories I've covered so far, how many open source contributions for Nepali I have done, and not just open source contributions, but also like the other projects that I've worked in for Nepali, like be it development of Nepali corpus or like algorithms. I've really written them down, and I feel really happy about like whenever I read that, it's a self affirmation, like that I'm on that path to becoming where I am today, like becoming where I want to be someday. And there's this book I read called Daring Greatly by Bernie Brown. And there's this quote. She used it in a little different context, but there's this line that says, "I'm learning every day to allow the space between where I am today, where what the space between where I am and where I want to be, to inspire me and not scare me." I'm sorry, I'm looking at that because it's like right out there on my wall, because I pasted it just to, like I get scared like a lot of times when a program does not run and my deadlines for my papers are coming near. I get really scared. And then that quote really, really helps me, like, go through that. She used it in a little different context, but,
Wait, can you say the
like,
quote one more time? Can you say the quote one more time?
I'm learning every day to allow the space between where I am and where I want to be to inspire me and not terrify me.
Wow, that's
Eh,
beautiful.
Yeah, I have it written there, like, and I just make sure that, I look at that. Like, I don't have a choice not to look at it because it's right on my wall, right next to my workstation. So that is something I really look at when I get really scared, and when I feel really, really like a fraud and imposter. And like when I see that, I remember to check my notes, like my diaries, where I've written all this, stuff about myself and all the things that I've done. And I also have a list of people, like a list of people that I can call, and that I can talk to when I feel like an imposter, because I know for a fact that they will remind me how great of a person I am. And sometimes it is
Of course.
something that I need,
Yeah.
that it is something that I need. And I'm really lucky, like I have so many people who really, really love me, and make sure that I don't feel like an imposter. And yeah, that's those are the things that I do, like a constant reminder that I'm not an imposter. I'm not an imposter. This is just in my head. And yeah, that's how I've been fighting. That's how I'll continue to fight, because it is working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these feelings are so real, and it's not just, it's not just exclusive to women or just women in technology. It's anyone, anyone who's
Yeah.
trying to do something, you will feel at some point in your life, you'll feel like an imposter. But like you said, I love the fact, the pieces of advice that you've given is writing down all of the compliments that you've received, all of the successes that you've reached, because a lot of times when you're on this path to success, or when you're on this path to reach your goal, you're going to go through way more downfalls than uphill successes, right? There's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of falls than rewards. And so sometimes what happens in our mind is that we forget all of the great little rewards that we've achieved in between this path to get to your success, and we focus a lot on the negativity, like all the times we failed, all the negative things that were said, all the bad comments that were given. So we tend to focus a lot on that negativity and literally forget about the good things that happen in between. And so if you document it, if you write it down and write down who it came from, right, you'll be surprised that, like, wow, like out of, like, let's say you have a list of 10 bad comments that you collected, but then you collected 4 good comments, but those 4 good comments were from, like, the leaders in the industry, or like mentors or people that you look up to. That outweighs all the negativity. And so sometimes I definitely appreciate your advice of writing stuff down, because it's so important to reflect back on that and think that, like, wow, like I was really struggling, but this person saw my passion, this person saw my strength, this person saw my hard work, and that motivates us to keep going. And so I love that idea. Definitely self-affirmation is such a powerful tool, and I think we need to all utilize it for our successes. But thank you so much. I think this was such an incredible session. I know a lot of people were being very interactive, and you got tons of comments. I see a lot of people saying this is very well said, very powerful words, very inspiring. Absolutely. I am very inspired, honestly. I was really looking forward to talking to you, and I didn't expect our conversation to go this way. And I'm very much inspired and very much a lot to reflect on after this conversation. And I thank you for that. But in the meantime, if anyone has any questions for Shreeya or for Nepali Women in Computing, please do drop in the questions. I see 2 questions that came in. Let me click this and see. Um, Oh, okay. So those are not questions, I guess. Those are just comments. But any last word that you want to share with us? I do want you to give us the Instagram handle for Nepali Women in Computing, and also shout out how young girls can get connected with you and also with the organization. And can you please shout out all of that, as well as like send us a little message?
So yeah, like you can, I am live from Nepali Women in Computing's handle. For that reason, like, it will be easy for you to find us. So our Instagram handle is Nepali Women in Computing, no spaces, just Nepali Women in Computing, the full name. And if you wanna, like, reach out to us, like support us in any way, become a member, or just get connected to us in general, then you can always reach out to us via our email, which is nepaliwic@gmail.com. So it's very easy. I'll just put it in the chat.
Yes. And please, everyone, do go follow Nepali Women in Computing. They have amazing stories. If you look at their feed, they have great stories that they've highlighted for other women that are also in the technology field, that have, they've highlighted their successes, their journey. It's just amazing resource. And again, for anyone that is interested in getting into the technology field, if you need support, if you need any resources, resume building, just advice, just someone to talk to, please reach out to Nepali Women in Computing. They are a great network of women, and Shreeya herself is doing such an incredible job. You can already see she's so motivational. So really appreciate you. I see one question, so if you don't mind, Shreeya, if you have time, do
Mhm.
you want to take this question from Nikanthan? So how far are you on your research? When can I talk with Siri in Nepali language?
Okay, so I can answer the first part. The second part is something that I cannot answer because Siri is not my product. Siri is Apple's product, and that should like we will only get to talk to Siri in Nepali when Apple decides it's a priority. So that is not something I can answer. But yeah, in terms of my personal research in Nepali language, I have worked on few algorithms, few core linguistic tools like Nepali stemming algorithm, which maps all the different variants of a word to a single root. For example, the word ghar can have so many different variations. Like ghar is just a plural form of ghar, which means multiple houses, and gharma is like in the house. Like so many different variants of a single word. So that maps everything to ghar. So what a stemming algorithm would do is like it does map. All these different variants to a single root, but it would also be useful in, just increasing the speed of a like bigger machine learning based algorithm. Because now you're just looking at one word and not just different variants of word. And if you really think about it, Nepali verbs are very highly inflectionals. So, in that sense, we can have like 40 variants of one single verb in Nepali. So in that way, this can be very useful, especially because Nepali is a um, highly inflectional and morphologically very complex language. And other than that, we have worked on something called part of speech tagger, which is an algorithm that tags all the different part of speeches. So, for example, noun, verb, adverb. All of that in that sense, nam, karta, like nam. Sorry, sorry about that. So, all those different grammatical categories of word, and these are very useful, like especially because if you really think about like words, like a single word can have multiple meaning, multiple senses based on like whether it's a verb or adverb or like just noun where it is being used. A word can be used in so many different senses. So the word fall can be like it can be fall can be a season, which is a noun. It can be an act of falling, which is a verb. So tagging all of those like disambiguating these senses can be really useful in understanding like language in the bigger sense. So we have worked on that. We've also worked on a data set for sentiment analysis of Nepali text. So uh, that is a data set that has like been annotated for positive and negative sentences that can be used for machine learning, like that can be used to train machine learning and deep learning algorithms. It's not a very big data set. It just has 20,000, like total of 40,000 sentences, 20 in each of the categories. But I think I really am proud of that work because we don't really have much data or algorithms for Nepali. So these are the three things that I've already done, and there are other things that I'm trying to do, like benchmarking the latest uh, deep learning models, like transformer based models for Nepali. So like on a personal level, these are what I've been doing.
Wow, that's incredible. Really setting the standard and path for technology advancement in Nepal. Like this is amazing. So I see one more question if you have time. Do you have time,
Hmm.
Shreya? I know I'm asking you.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
do.
so
Sure.
XSAX5099 asked, does GPA make a difference to get into grad school for technology?
Like yes and no. It depends. It totally depends on colleges, like how they have their, system laid out. A lot of times, if they have an automated screening, the initial screening, because, let's be honest here, a lot of colleges, they receive a lot of applications, especially the ones in top tier, right? So like what they are doing these days is like they have this algorithm that says yes and no. So GPA is one of the like categories for some of the colleges. I don't know the name of those colleges which has those categories, but yeah, there are some who have those categories. But at the same time, I would say don't be like discouraged just by the GPAs, and don't always like put all of your hopes in all the top tier colleges. If you want to study in the US, there are so many like great programs in colleges in middle and lower tiers, right? There are like, if you really think about it, there are like a lot of times when people think from Nepal, they just think about all this. When they hear of colleges, they just hear about Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, and all these really big shot universities who are in the topmost tier. But these are not the only universities that offer great programs. So look for the program that is right for you, and look for universities in all the tiers. And a lot of times it is also a numbers game. So apply to as many as it is feasible for you, like both financially, and there are like financial aids in terms of application fees and all of that. Look for those, but don't be disheartened. Yes, some colleges do value GPAs, but there are a lot of colleges that don't.
Yeah.
So try to find which colleges do that. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, it is also partly a number games, like
Yeah.
numbers game. So apply to as many as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to add to that is I think college admissions are also changing in the US space now. Right now, before it was very much heavily on like standardized testing scores and then GPA, but nowadays they look more for individuals that will actually bring legacy to the school. So individuals that can, that they see potential in. So a lot of, I feel like today's college applications is more about expressing yourself in the essays, and any if you're applying for like a specific engineering course, if there's something that you can submit to show like a prototype or something. I think that is something that schools are looking for now, because they want to have the next future innovator from their school. They want their school to be known for something. And so I think more so than GPA, it's really about identifying what your true passion is and highlighting that in your essays, and just during the interview speaking about it and being able to like fluently and eloquently speak on those topics is so, so important. So don't focus so much. I mean, of course, GPA matters, but I think, don't be disheartened if your GPA is not there and, you want to aim for the school, because the worst thing that happens that I've heard from studies is that people don't get into big shot schools or good programs because they never apply, because they always think that they're not worthy or they're not going to get into it, so they don't even apply. So that's why a lot of schools don't get such diversity, because people just don't apply.
Mhm.
So great question there. And one last question from Sammy: is Nepali Women in Computing for women in computer science only, or can someone from a different background be a member?
Uh, yeah, so there is no restrictions in becoming a member, and like anyone from any gender, like we are inclusive. We don't. We have men who are members of Nepali Women in Computing. We are open to all. But yeah, like that being said, since like we are focused on promoting women in tech, and then helping them find opportunities, we are specialized in that. Like our members have more experience in that sense, like in that area. So we have network of like all these people, but network of people who do tech.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I don't know how much you can make out of being a member in Nepali Women in Computing. But if you just want to purely volunteer and explore like this field and get to like talk to us, and we don't just do like stuff related to tech. We, like I said, we have Nepali Women in Educate, where we talk about different policies of Nepal, like how women of Nepal really, like what are the issues related to women of Nepal, and not just women of Nepal, but what about like underrepresented caste groups, underrepresented genders, and all of that. So in that sense, we do have things that other people, like people from other backgrounds, would benefit. But yeah, but at the same time, in terms of just the career guidance and mentorship, it is like very limited to tech and computing. We would like to expand. We would definitely like to expand, and we would be happy if you can bring in like ideas as to how we can expand to other fields. We are really open to that. If you have any ideas, you can just email us. I have like sent an email of Nepali Women in Computing on the chat. So if you have any questions, like if you have any suggestions, if you have any new ideas that we can implement, we are really open to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the email address is pinned to the bottom there. It's nepaliwic@gmail.com. And also please follow them on Instagram at Nepali Woman in Computing. Very simple handle there. And one last question. I promise this is going to be the last question. Just so talking to you. So this is from It's Roshan 137. I'd love to read your research. How can I do that?
Of course, like I like some of them are published, so you can find those in Google Scholar. Other, like especially the ones with Nepali, what you can do is like wait for our website to come up. Unfortunately, sadly, what happened was after we came to grad school, the people who were maintaining the website also like went to their pursue their further education, and we are not really like we all were basically struggling in grad school, and we were really not able to maintain that website. But now we are working, and it's gonna be live very soon. The website is nepalinlp.com. So in that you'll get to read like we posted a lot of things about Nepali grammar. We translated Nepali grammar to English so that people, researchers, can actually like benefit from that, because all of our references are like for the works in English, and when we are trying to like find like the similar cases in Nepali grammar, then we get lost. So we have a lot of those translations there. We had those, and we'll also have any new things that we do in that website, and any link to other resources from other researchers in that website. So please keep an eye out on that website. And one good way to follow that is follow Nepali NLP group on Facebook, and we are working on that website, and it should be like up and running in within the next month. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really exciting. Wow. So many great resources. There's so many questions pouring in, but guys, we are at the top of the hour now and we have to wrap this up. Please follow Nepali Women in Computing, and also email questions if you have anything specific to your career path or would like to be a part of the organization. Please follow them or email them at nepaliwic@gmail.com. The information is pinned at the bottom of this chat here. Thank you all so much for joining today, and thank you, Shreeya, so much for gracing us with your presence, being a part of this conversation, allowing us to hear your journey, your story, and just talking about everything that you feel as a human being, as a woman in technology, because I think that is such an important story to share with people. It has inspired me, and I hope that it has inspired you all. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am, and I'm definitely sure, like all of us at Nepali Women in Computing, is grateful to you for giving us this platform to really reach out to more people in Nepal, or like Nepali youths around the globe. Thank you very much. It's really nice talking to you.
Thank you. And I hope that we get to connect very soon. I know COVID is all in the air, but eventually I hope that we get to collaborate on future projects as well. So looking forward to that, and all the best on your research, all the best for everything that's to come ahead of Nepali Women in Computing, and keep us posted with more information on your Instagram page, and we will continue to follow your journey and all the great things that you're doing for young women that are looking to get into tech. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
So for everyone else that has joined us today, thank you all so much for joining. I think today's session was such an amazing session. I had an incredible time hearing from Shreeya and hearing about all the things that she has done with Nepali Women in Coding. It was just incredible. But again, thank you all so much. Stay tuned again for my next week's session on Sundays with Sujita. I have another special guest on next week. But until then, please watch the video, share the video, continue to add comments and feedback in the video when I post it. And yeah, I hope that this session was as informational for you all as it was for me. It wasn't today's conversation, although it was focused around women in technology. There was a lot of other things that were talked about that really helped me on a personal level, to really think about my view of success, and when I feel down, why do I feel down? And I hope that you all were able to take away similar message from this conversation today. And like always, thank you for participating and being so interactive with us. Sending you all lots of love this Valentine's Day. I hope you all enjoyed your Valentine's Day if you're in Nepal, and if you're here in the US, I hope you have things planned for the rest of your day. But enjoy, and I will see you again next week on Sundays with Sujita. Take care, guys.